It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain Team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. We've entered the final 5 days of the transfer portal. Arkansas classes started today. These student athletes, we're still calling them student athletes, have until Friday to get enrolled. So that is the last day that the transfer portal is open. That means that you can't enter the transfer portal after that date. It doesn't mean that you can't come out of the transfer portal. You won't be able to enroll in the spring semester, I guess, unless you're going to a school with quarters or something. But Arkansas doesn't have that. They're on the semester plan. So a lot to do still. We've still got about 11 spots, I think. I think I've got them at 79 scholarship players right now. I know I do. That could be off on a guy here or there, but I've got them at 79 for all intents and purposes. They still have some work to do at safety. They still have some work on the defensive line and kind of filling out some spots here and there. We're going to talk about all of that, you and me, today on today's episode of HawgSports Live. The Crain Automotive Team has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crain commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a vehicle, the Crain Team Service Centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle and get you back on the road. Check them out at crainteam.com. HawgSports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive Team.
Woo. You've done it. Now you're the Crain Cash Champ. You just won big with the Crain Team. Go ahead, soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? You dominated with our low price guarantee, and you got way more for your trade. Plus, with statewide delivery on thousands of vehicles from 16 locations, and the fact that we'll beat any other dealer's price, we make our Kansans feel like champions every day. That's winning. That's the Crain Team. Visit crainteam.com.
All right, visit crainteam.com. Appreciate them for all their support. Arkansas basketball dropping an ugly one, 95-73. Maybe that had something to do with Arkansas playing a road game the last two, Tuesday, and you turn around, you got a Saturday road game versus Auburn, which played on, Wednesday and then Saturday. And Auburn's played at home Tuesday and Saturday. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe Auburn was just a buzzsaw, and Arkansas just didn't play very well on defense. So looking to bounce back this week with a, Wednesday night, January 14th. That's 8 o'clock. So that's up next. 8 o'clock, SEC Network, South Carolina. And then you're on the road on Saturday, Georgia, at 3 o'clock. That'll be on ESPN2. And then back to Fayetteville for Vanderbilt on January 20th. And then a Saturday game finally, 7:30, January 24th against LSU. So that's what's upcoming for Arkansas basketball. A little bit of a hiccup. I mean, we were riding high on the Hawks for a while. Seems like every time we get a little bit too excited, they just kind of like, okay, hey, everybody settle down a little bit. We still got a lot of work to do. Arkansas baseball, we're just a little over a month away with the Shriners Children's College Showdown beginning. That's Oklahoma State Friday, February 13th, TCU on the 14th, and Texas Tech on the 15th. So that's coming around. Kevin Bohannon's got a lot of baseball coverage. Dave Van Horn spoke to us last week. You can read a lot of that content over at HawgSports, HawgSports.com. So I kind of want to just start from where we picked up last time. We run the show every Monday, Thursday, and then during the season I do walk and talks on Saturday and stuff. So the last show that we had was on Thursday. I'm like having to think when I say that, like Thursday is today Monday, because it's been an absolute whirlwind. I know for me and Danny West, and I'm sure the coaching staff, like I forgot yesterday was Sunday. Like I just got up and started working as normal, thinking maybe I had to take my daughter to school. Like, oh yeah, it's Sunday. So like it's been a absolute whirlwind. I've got them at, I think, 34 transfer portal additions so far. The last thing I think we talked about was Tyler Scott getting added. We addressed Andreas Poshka, not going to be with the team, not going to seek a medical red shirt for another year. So that night, Thursday night, they picked up Donovan Foppel, who is from New Mexico State, wide receiver, guy that's been very productive for them. I like the addition. Then we had information that Bubba Craig entered the transfer portal, an offensive lineman. And then right after that, Josiah Clemens, 6'5", 370-pound redshirt freshman offensive lineman, commits to Arkansas. He was a true freshman last year. And then that night during the championship semifinal game, Bryant Williams committed out of Louisiana. Now, Bryant Williams is the number 6 ranked transfer portal prospect in the country. So for those who have wondered if Arkansas has money or not, I would guess this kid cost $1 million probably. I mean, that's just kind of the going rate for guys like that. But he's a redshirt senior, 6'7", 335, huge addition for them at left tackle. Jaheim Singletary on Friday hit the transfer portal. Terrence Robertson out of Ouachita Baptist was a guy that we talked about a lot. So I want to clear up some stuff on Terrence Robertson because I got a lot of this kind of dissenting information on him. Robertson had played football. Like, he played football from 7th grade, 10th grade, so on and so forth. He did not play a snap on field in 9th grade. He's kind of just like a very developmental guy. Was played in the band also. A guy that's, not on the, like, probably a few years behind Carius Kern developmentally, right? So he went to OBU and, played there redshirted that first year, played there last year. The film got out on him. This is a guy that spent a lot of time in the weight room, working, getting better at football, really starting to love football. I didn't think he started to love football, according to Bo Embry, until like 11th grade. He's just kind of been a developmental guy, but now, like, people see his feet, people see his athletic ability, his size, and everybody had jumped on him. And Arkansas got him to campus. He wanted to be a Razorback. They came out with a good package for him, and something that they're really invested in him with. Maybe turned down more money at other schools, just for wanting to be a Razorback. So that's important, I think, getting a guy like that who's got a tremendous amount of upside. Will he start for Arkansas? Will he play in a backup role? I've done a projected depth chart. I kind of think that maybe he's a backup guy, maybe a rotational guy for a year, and then starts the next year. Maybe not. We're going to go into the depth chart that I put together a little bit. Then you had Jeremy Evans, linebacker, as a backup linebacker at Baylor, a guy that was a 4-star recruit, but a backup at Baylor. Cam Settles announced that he was all in, returning to Arkansas. That's a nice addition, nice retention, I guess. Somebody that the former staff was pretty high on. Ty Lockwood's interesting. Ty Lockwood was really highly rated. Now, Ty Lockwood was rated just a couple of spots above Jaden Platt and a couple of spots below Luke Hasz in that 2023 recruiting class. So he's a guy that was viewed very well. He reminds me a little bit of like of Hunter Henry and a little bit of Hudson Henry, like maybe a little more physical than Hudson was, but not as physical maybe as Hunter was, maybe fast like Hudson was. But anyway, kind of reminds me a little bit of those guys. Maybe it was the gold helmet and the Navy uniforms. But he went to Alabama and just, it didn't pan out there. Obviously was young, went to Boston College, and now coming to Fayetteville. But a guy that was really highly regarded as a recruit, and we'll see if he lives up to it. He's already going to be a redshirt junior coming up this season, so it's kind of now or never. And there are a few guys like that Arkansas went and got who are really highly regarded recruits who haven't quite popped yet on the college level. Quintavious Scandrett, I mentioned that he's in the portal. David Oki announces he's returning to Arkansas. He was able to redshirt last year. He only played in 4 games. Angelo State redshirt senior quarterback Braden Fuller. Interesting addition. Arkansas's got to have players at quarterback. He was the third addition. Obviously, Hank Hendricks hasn't announced anything, but those following that story, obviously we saw the Casey Dick tweet and all that stuff, and that was unfortunate. And I understand his frustration and everything, but Hank Hendricks is going to, graduate early and roll in May. He has not announced that yet, so we don't have him on the list. We'll let him formally announce that, but that's obviously come out now. But he is the number 9 ranked quarterback prospect in the country for the class of 2027. He's reclassifying to 2026. His dad, Chi Hendricks, is on staff at the University of Arkansas with the football program, so there's some obvious connections there. Ian Williams, who will just be a true sophomore this year, played some as a freshman for Memphis last year, coming in at safety. Arkansas obviously needs safeties. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Ben Bogle at West Virginia, redshirt senior linebacker. Bogle was an FCS All-American at Southern Illinois, had like 87 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, then transferred to West Virginia and was one of their top backup linebackers there. A little bit undersized as a linebacker, guy with really good instincts. Not everybody's going to be, a superstar. Like, you've got to fill out this roster. We've talked about that a lot. You kind of invest in your top 50 or so players. You invest in your high school recruits, and then you kind of fill in from there. And then today, Jelani Watkins, redshirt sophomore wide receiver. He'll be a redshirt sophomore this year. Played behind a lot of experienced players at LSU at wide receiver, a lot of guys that were also 4-star recruits. Jelani Watkins has run damn near a 10-flat 100-meter dash. Now, Arkansas has brought through guys that were really, really fast at wide receiver. Eric Hawkins, you remember him from several years ago. Jordan Anthony, obviously, recently. I'm not sure that they brought in a guy who is like, this fast and was a 4-star recruit. This guy was like the number 122 ranked prospect in the country coming out of high school. Obviously, again, another guy that was really highly regarded who hasn't really popped yet in college. Maybe that's coming. I'm going to talk about all those guys in a little bit more depth here in a second. I would like to tell you about our buddies over at Walker Brothers first. Walker Brothers brings you the finest men's clothing from around the world, carefully selected to last, fit right, and help you look your best. From game day essentials to distinguished luxury wear, from a meticulously fitted suit to the perfectly faded pair of jeans, every piece in their collection is hand-selected for enduring quality and iconic style. Experience that undeniable confidence that comes with perfecting your personal style. Visit them at 577 Millsap Road, Suite number 6 in Fayetteville, or their brand new location, 3503 South 55th Street, Suite 101 in Rogers. Appreciate the folks over at Walker Brothers. Big Razorback fans, longtime Fayetteville family. Good people, great menswear. Okay, so the latest portal signee, Jelani Watkins. And did I mention Chris Marshall? I don't think I mentioned Chris Marshall, did I? Did I? Yes. I didn't mention. I skipped over Chris Marshall. So he announced at 5 o'clock. How could I not announce Chris Marshall? So Chris Marshall, 6'3", 215, number 25 overall recruit in the country in the class of 2022, went to Texas A&M, played there, transferred to Ole Miss, and in the summer, I guess, was dismissed from the team. They dismissed him. I don't know what happened. They dismissed him. And for Lane Kiffin to dismiss somebody who's that highly regarded, maybe that says something. I don't know. Went to junior college. After junior college, came out as the number 1 ranked junior college prospect in the country. Went to Boise State. At Boise State, he played. He had a significant role for them, averaged over 19 yards a catch for them. He was suspended some there also. So I'm not sure what all has gone on with Chris Marshall, the reasons that he keeps getting suspended. But this last one with Boise, from what I read, it seemed to have something to do with how he interacted with the coaches. So maybe he got in some kind of argument with the coach or something like that, or, maybe kind of violated that player-coach relationship a little bit in some kind of way. I don't know exactly. But I do know that Arkansas – as a program, needs to take some risk here and there. And this guy's 6'3", 215 and can do just about everything on the football field. Going back and watching his highlight tapes from high school, it's just – and I always watch for, like, what do they do after the catch? I want to see the speed, and I want to see what they do after the catch, because obviously they're going to catch every ball on their highlight tape. And, I mean, it's just stiff arm, shaking somebody out of their shoes, breaking a tackle, just running past people, just one play after another, as you would expect a guy that's ranked number 25 prospect in the country coming out of high school. So big upside, big potential upside there, boomer bust type of guy in Chris Marshall. And, getting a Jelani Watkins also. I'll talk a little bit about the wide receiver core because so Chris Marshall, as I mentioned, was ranked number 25 overall prospect in the country coming out of high school in the class of 2022. Courtney Crutchfield, who's at Arkansas, also hasn't popped yet. Number 43 ranked prospect in the nation coming out of high school in 2024. Jalen Brown, who was a starter for Arkansas before he was injured, was the number 91 ranked prospect in the country in the class of 2023. Jelani Watkins, who I just mentioned, was the number 122 prospect in the country coming in 2024. At least on paper, that's like 4 elite wideouts, right? On paper, as far as recruits. Monte Harrison was also a 4-star recruit, 10 years ago. C.J. Brown is back, who had 28 catches for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns last season. And really the guy that everybody's looking at, so this might be the next great player at wide receiver for Arkansas, is Antonio Jordan, who was not a 4-star recruit, but was, is 6'6", 234, and turned a lot of heads in fall camp before he had that high ankle sprain. So wide receiver core not looking bad. Maybe not a lot of proven guys, although Marshall has done, obviously performed at at Boise State, and C.J. Brown and Jalen Brown both started for Arkansas. You've also got Ismail Cece, who will be back. So that's another one. You got some guys. Here and there. Danny West was going to join us today, but he's got 2 sick girls at home, and so hope the girls get better. So it's just going to be me and you today. But I'm going to get to your questions here in a little bit. We got 855 people on here watching the show right now. So I kind of went through and talked about, just each position group and how Arkansas has added either a guy that's got a lot of experience in college, like starts, for a Power 5 team, a number of starts, or they've gotten a guy who's a little bit younger, who should kind of be coming to his own, who was like a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. Like pretty much at every position except for a couple of outlier positions. I mean, when you talk about quarterback A.J. Hill and K.J. Jackson, obviously haven't played a lot of football yet. K.J.'s played more and a year older, but both those guys were 4-star recruits coming out of high school. Braylon Russell's seen a good bit of action, was a 4-star. Jasper Parker, the Michigan transfer, was a 4-star. Thing with Jasper Parker, I don't get. I was talking with Danny about this. But here's a guy that was the number 10 ranked running back prospect in the country. He was a 4-star recruit. He goes to Michigan, plays a little bit as a true freshman, doesn't redshirt. But from his freshman season to his sophomore season, he's going to make the biggest jump in improvement in his career. That's going to be the biggest jump. But he goes from a 4-star prospect down to, like a high 3-star, like an 87 3-star. I just think that's interesting how we do the transfer portal rankings. What I'm discovering basically, like if a guy is ranked an 87 or above, then apparently we think pretty highly of him. It's basically like a 4-star prospect. I mean, if you think about it like that. So it's kind of interesting how we've been doing these transfer portal rankings. It's a tough job. There's so many guys in the portal. It's hard to evaluate all of those guys. So, and then Sutton Smith has sent a lot of ball at running back at Memphis. Then you've got Jalen Brown and C.J. Brown, who both played a lot of football. Monte Harrison, Antonio Jordan, Chris Marshall, Watkins, so on and so forth at wide receiver. Tight end Jaden Platts played a lot of football and was a 4-star prospect. Ty Lockwood is a 4-star prospect. You got Bryant Williams, multi-year starter, number 6 transfer portal offensive tackle. Malachi Breland was a 4-year starter at Memphis. Caden Kittler is the returning starter at center. Kobe Branham's the returning starter at right guard. And then we run into kind of our first position where they don't have either of those things. You've got Kavian Broussard, who played some football for him last year. Adam Hawks, who started a couple of games at Oregon State as a redshirt freshman last year. And Terrence Robertson is a guy that's really intriguing to us at right tackle. At least that's where I project him. That's where he played last year. So right tackle will be like the first spot so far on offense that I've talked about where they didn't either have a guy that was really highly regarded as a recruit, should be kind of hopefully coming into his own now, or a guy that's been really productive. Defensive line, you've got Quincy Rhodes back. Carlin Jones was a 4-star at USC, played behind some really good players there. Hunter Osborne was originally at Alabama as a 4-star recruit, was a key player for Virginia last year in the rotation. They need some help here on the defensive line. We're going to that hybrid odd front, so we're talking nose tackle, end, defensive tackle, 280, 300, 320, kind of for all those, sizes, like in a kind of a prototypical sense, I guess. So they need some help still on the defensive line. A couple of the guys that they really targeted, the kid from Florida and the kid from Mississippi State, went elsewhere. So they still need some help there on the defensive line. They do, however, have 3 guys that I would project to start right now who were 4-star prospects coming out of high school, including Quincy Rhodes. They need more depth, obviously. So that's really the first area that we've gotten to where Arkansas, they got some work to do here on the defensive line. Still need to add some depth pieces here. They've got some promising younger guys, but a lot of redshirt freshmen, second-year guys that should be a lot better. Obviously, we talked about, your growth from year 1 to year 2, but it would be nice to have maybe a couple more guys that you felt you're just like, that's a stud. That's a good guy. That's a good player. He's good, definitely going to play for him. I think they're in good place at the Jack. The Jack, you're thinking more of a 240 to 260 guy that can get after the quarterback. Charlie Collins announced he's coming back. Charlie Collins never even really entered the transfer portal. He announced that he was, but he never did. Charlie Collins, Jamonte Waller, who was a big-time recruit for Auburn a couple years ago. On the shorter side, 6 foot, 250, but an edge guy. Steven Souls, who had 3.5 sacks as a backup at Kentucky, coming off the edge, played a lot of football for them. I think you're in pretty good shape with those guys right now at edge. And I feel like, am I leaving somebody out at edge? I feel like I'm leaving somebody out. Let me see. Edge. Jamonte Waller, Steven Souls, Charlie Collins, and they got Colton Yarbrough also, who may or may not play edge. I mean, he's like 260, 6'4". He may end up being like an odd front end at that size. So maybe they get one more guy there. Who knows? But that first 3, I feel pretty good about that group. Linebacker, Bradley Shaw coming back. You got Kamori House, who's one of their top transfer portal additions from North Carolina, their leading tackler last season. So a couple of, promising linebackers. And you obviously got some other guys, Wyatt Simmons, for example. They brought in Phoenix Jackson from, where was he from? Baylor? Man, I'm getting my wires all over the place. I think he was at Baylor. I think he was at Fresno State, Baylor. He committed to Washington State, ran into some kind of eligibility deal there, and now at Arkansas. But he's got a lot of experience too. But anyway, Bradley Shaw and Kamori House are most likely your 2 starting linebackers there. At nickel, they'll go with Christian Harrison, who's played a ton of football for Cincinnati. Tyler Scott could be another guy that they go with there, or Tyler Scott could play cornerback. Scott has the size to play a lot of different positions. Maybe he ends up at safety even, but he was also a former 4-star recruit who hasn't played a whole lot of football just yet. So here we get to the second issue with Arkansas. Depth on the defensive line is one issue. Safety spot. They don't have 2 starting safeties, unless like Tyler Scott starts at safety, but they don't have 2 starting safeties on this roster. They are extremely thin numbers-wise as well. They've got to do a lot of work here. Like they need to get 4 guys without a doubt. Like they've got to. So this and backup D-line are the 2 outlier positions right now. If they've got 11 guys left, they really need to focus on those 2 spots. Still maybe get some young offensive linemen. Yeah. And special teams, they're pretty well set. Now, this roster, I like what Arkansas has done so far. I like that there is a clear strategy with them in their front office, however you want to call it, with their GM, their player personnel, all that stuff. There's a clear strategy that they had going into this. They have managed it well. There is structure. They've gone out and gotten some really important players, some guys that have played a lot of football and some guys that have a lot of promise, kind of a mix of all that. I like that it does feel like there's a strategy. It doesn't feel like they're getting players that were cut from another team, somebody else's leftovers. And it felt a lot like that, especially on defense last year. It didn't feel like that on offense. I mean, they did well on offense, I think. On defense, it felt a lot like somebody else's problem, somebody else's cut, that kind of stuff. And it showed, didn't it? It showed last season. I don't get that same vibe this year. Now, it doesn't mean that they have a roster that exceeds everyone in the SEC, because they don't. Everyone has access to the transfer portal, as I like to say. But what it does do is put them in a situation where they should have good enough personnel to be able to compete and win games. And that's where it starts coming down to coaching, culture, in-game decision-making. All of those types of factors start playing a big role and getting lucky here and there, obviously. But to me, they're putting together a roster that gives them some depth that should allow them to be competitive. A lot's going to depend on this quarterback situation. No, they did not go out and get what I would have liked to have seen, and that is a $2.5 million proven veteran quarterback. At the same time, I'm not so sure that this is a great crop of transfer quarterbacks compared to what we've seen in past years. You know, Levitt just announced for LSU. I mean, he may end up being great. We're talking about a guy who, you know, last year obviously he had the injury. He was a 129 efficiency rating. The year before he was a 150 efficiency rating at Arizona State. You know, and obviously they went to the championship, the playoffs, but like that's not an outstanding passer efficiency rating. Like there are guys that are 180 something out there in college, you know? So, you know, and the kid from Cincinnati may end up being great also, but again, like just not outstanding numbers. I don't see anybody that I'm just like, that guy's proven, ready to go, you know, big time quarterback. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know if that guy's out there. So what you really are banking on here is that KJ Jackson or AJ Hill turns out to be a really good player for you. Like Trey Guerrero also committed to Coastal Carolina. I think maybe he got the vibe that he was being brought in as a backup type and wanted to go somewhere he would start. But KJ Jackson, AJ Hill, I think it's going to be a really intriguing quarterback battle in the spring, something to really follow closely. But there's no guarantee that either of those guys will be good. It's like you're running a risk definitely at quarterback. You need one of these guys to be an exceptional quarterback. And here's the problem too. You could go through the entire spring, all of fall camp, and say, okay, we've decided on KJ or AJ. This is our guy. We've decided on him. He's won the job, and we're going to go out there and play our first game against, you know, whoever. And heck, who is the first game? The second game's Utah. But he may not be the right guy. It happens all the time in college football. And if you don't believe me, then ask Trinidad Chambliss how his college career started. He was a backup. He was a gadget quarterback. The only reason he got his opportunity is because Austin Simmons rolled his ankle. Austin Simmons, by the way, was a 16-year-old enrollee at Ole Miss. So it's not unheard of. Talking about Hank Hendricks here, but that's how he got his opportunity. Ask Kyle Trask. You know, if Felipe Franks had not gotten injured at Florida, Kyle Trask never would have gotten an opportunity. He never would have had a chance. It's interesting when you think about it like that, isn't it? There are guys out there. If Austin Simmons had never gotten hurt, we'd never be talking about Trinidad Chambliss and how he was denied an extra year of eligibility and all this other stuff. We never would have been talking about him. Okay, so Bet Saracen. I don't believe the line is out yet for Wednesday's game. Let me check real quick. Bet Saracen is Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. And if you use the promo code BIDDY 250, capital B, lowercase IDDY 250, and you sign up and you make your first bet for $25 or more, you're going to get $250 back in bonuses at Bet Saracen. So that's a pretty sweet deal. $250 back in bonuses just for making a $25 first-time bet. Sounds good, huh? All right. I don't see the line for the basketball game yet against South Carolina. So we obviously can't make a bet on it. But anyway, when it comes out, be sure to use that promo code and sign up with our friends over at Bet Saracen.
Arkansas's Fab Five for Bet Saracen.
Dude, you ever bet on bowling?
Only if I'm in the tournament.
So you bet on the other team, right?
Hey, this aggression will not stand, man.
Who's gonna lock for Sunday? I need to bring home the bacon.
Not sure about you, but I take comfort knowing those dudes make their plays on Bet Saracen.
Arkansas's favorite sports betting app.
Who is that guy?
Who is that guy? All right. Where do we go next? We'll get to your questions here in just a moment. I'm sure we got a lot of them. Okay. No Danny West today again. Danny, hope the girls get better. We're going to go to some questions now over on the Razor's Edge. See what kind of comment. Oh, I want to know if you could tell me, is my audio synced up again? I have been experimenting and trying to figure out why my audio has been off, but it has been off the last 3 shows. I thought I had it fixed the last show, and I didn't. So let me know in the comments. Okay. First question, Fat Hog, F-A-T, Hog. Interesting. Great name. Okay, buddy. If you had to guess, what percentage of our NIL budget have we spent thus far? Most of it. So 3/4 of the way there. They've signed 34, I think. By the way, ranking-wise, Arkansas, I think last look was 19th. There's a lot of schools that are jammed up 19, through I think 15 or 14 are all almost the same ratings right now. And Arkansas is like 8th in the SEC, I think, right now. So, but again, transfer portal rankings are tricky, in my opinion. You really just have to look at it and see what you think, what's your own opinion of it. If you had to guess percentage of what NIL budget that we've spent so far, so I would say more than 3/4 of it. I think they've got to get some safeties here at the end, and a couple of defensive linemen, and then you fill in the rest of the spots. I think you pretty much got your starters for the most part. I don't know. Maybe they spent $20 million. If they have $25 million, which we've kind of talked about, maybe they spent 20 of it so far. Joshua 11 says, Trey, do you think Antonio Jordan will make a big jump next year and become a factor for us next season? I hope so. They need a guy like that too. I'm interested to see how they use him. But 6'6", 227 or so, or was he bigger than that? He might be bigger. They just raved about him so much, and we kind of forgot about the freshman wall, and he kind of ran into that. He wasn't an early enrollee at Arkansas. He just enrolled for the summer. So maybe took him a little bit longer to adjust, but he's a guy everybody's really excited about, I think. Hogboy 1987 says, do you think the staff Ryan Silverfield has assembled is good enough to get the Hogs back on 6-8 win yearly trajectory? I don't see anything wrong with the staff as far as that goes. They've got some guys that were, in big time positions previously. I think I'm higher on Ron Roberts than a lot of people are. That doesn't mean they're going to have this great defense next year. I think there's a process. I've seen comments like, this is never going to get us to the playoffs, or this isn't enough to I'm just thinking about getting back to the right trajectory as a program, some discipline, some accountability, and winning games and finishing off games. That's where I'm excited about the future, because what I've seen so far is structure, is a game plan. I feel like Arkansas is being aggressive again, and that's what you have to do at Arkansas. So get back to I'm not people may watch this show and be like, Trey seems real excited about this portal class stuff. I'm not even sure that I'm going to predict them to have a winning record this year. Year one is very tricky. Getting your culture instilled. It doesn't mean that you can't have success. We've seen coaches come in and have success year one, obviously. And it's easier now to do it versus the last few years with the way the calendar was. But I'm not projecting that they're going to come in and win 6 games or 7 or 8, definitely. I'm probably thinking 5, if I'm being honest right now. But a lot can change with, the right system. You strike lightning. Is that the term? You strike lightning? Who knows? Maybe one of these quarterbacks turns out to be exceptional. SDL Hog 91 says, with all the Hog staff additions and staff support analytics, NIL offer acceptance question. Does Coach Silverfield make the final decision, or is our GM making the call? It's definitely Silverfield. They're going to they're going to have a list of the guys, that they want to keep and the guys that they want. But no, it's not like, the NFL in some cases, but where it's, all GM. It's going to be, Silverfield, they're going to, he knows who he wants, obviously. But it's definitely everybody's got their job. You've got to delegate responsibilities and stuff. Story of the year says, is your biggest question mark on this team the quarterback room? It is, because it's the most important position. There are some promising candidates, but it's the most important position, and we just don't know a lot about those guys. I also worry about safety right now. There are options out there, but they're not filled. In fact, maybe we look at the Metcalf brothers. There's Tevis and TJ are both in the portal now from Michigan, who were at Arkansas previously. Maybe there's a chance there. There's some other guys that they're targeting too. So we'll see. It's not like they're just not going to sign any safeties. Just hopefully that they get the right ones, because secondary was so bad last year, and they've done some good work at cornerback, done some good work at nickel, get safety addressed. Hogs D2 says, I know you may not be able to discuss, and I'll say this too, like they've added a lot of players at corner. Like the whole secondary is going to be completely new players, completely revamped. The whole secondary, except for Nigel Pringle, who played some last year. I know you may not be able to discuss it, but I heard on the radio this morning that the reclassification quarterback is going to be getting $1 million to come to Arkansas. Probably a dumb question, but is there any names that they're looking at for safety now? $1 million seems excessive for a high school quarterback. Not every high school quarterback, but like I kind of think like if you're going out and getting like a top 10 type of quarterback recruit, a lot of times you're talking, you could be talking as much as $500,000, most positions in high school, like a 4-star, you're talking 100,000 to 150,000. Okay. For quarterbacks is just more. Quarterbacks are just on a different level as far as the financing goes. I have not heard $1 million to come to Arkansas. But who knows? I've not heard $1 million. NEA Hog 12 says, favorite portal addition? Well, Terrence Robertson is intriguing because of his backstory. He's going to be a fan favorite, I think. Bryant Williams at the other side, left tackle. I mean, getting a big-time left tackle, I think, is really important, obviously. So they filled that spot. Favorite portal addition? There's some that I'm really intrigued with, Jamonte Waller, Kamori House at linebacker. But Waller, like, is he going to live up to, what his recruit billing was? Christian Harrison, I think, brings a lot of experience and positive results in the secondary, which Arkansas hasn't had a guy like that in a while. Joshua 11 says, Trey, I'm a little concerned. Any safety names to keep an eye on? Well, let's take a look real quick. I wrote something recently. First, I want to tell you about our friends over at Blakeman's Fine Jewelry. If you guys haven't checked out their new store, then it's worth checking out. It is the finest jewelry store in the region, and I've been to a few in my day. My wife's family was in the jewelry business also, where they retired. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry is proud to be the official jeweler of the Arkansas Razorbacks also. And while I would encourage you to visit them in person at their brand new location, 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway in Rogers, Arkansas. Did you know you can also shop them online? You go to blakemansfinejewelry.com and they've got everything there. They do delivery, or you can book an appointment online also. Built on tradition since 1987, Blakeman's has been Northwest Arkansas's trusted destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. Again, visit them at 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway, Rogers, Arkansas, 72758. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, where Arkansas gets engaged. Article manager. Where was that article I wrote? Now, one of them has committed elsewhere that was on this list. Wait for that to bring up. A little concerned about safety, says Joshua. I agree with you. You should be a lot concerned right now. I think that they're going to take care of it, but here it is, safety options. Right now, the unknown is always scary. Just like day one of the portal, we just thought, there's just going to be this windfall of transfer portal additions, and there just wasn't. So a couple of the names: Ricardo Jones, the Clemson transfer, he's going to Vanderbilt, I believe. Jordan Gilbert, who's an LSU transfer. TJ Metcalf, Tevis Metcalf, and North Carolina Central's Eric Adams. Malcolm Hartzog was a guy I liked a lot. He was a little undersized, but he's committed to Arizona. But those are a few of the guys that are in the mix. And, there's some that I feel like it's going to be tighter, like a little bit quieter these next few days with this, with what gets out there. I think they'll probably be a little quieter about who they're bringing in as they try to close out these final few days. But yes, they are. There's reason to be a little bit concerned about safety, but we'll see. So far everywhere they've done pretty good. Got to get a few safeties. Got to get a couple more defensive linemen, and I feel pretty good about where they are from a personnel depth standpoint. Again, doesn't mean that they have this roster that's totally different than everybody else has in the SEC. It just means that they have a roster of guys that have played football, guys that were highly regarded as recruits pretty much at every position. Thorhog says, do you think they will add any more defensive linemen and offensive linemen? I think they are. Yes, they're going to add more at both of those. They have to add more defensive linemen, and they should add more young offensive linemen if they can. Pigsburg Squealer says, are you going to Salt Lake for the Utah game? Yes. Let's meet up and drink some Brewy Lewis and the news in the parking lot before the game, says Pittsburgh Squealer. We'll see, Pittsburgh. No, hit me up. I always like meeting board members. Big Al, but yes, I do plan on going to Salt Lake. Big Al 45 says, what position remains our biggest need to fill as the portal closes? Got a lot of the similar questions. Obviously, safety and defensive line. Mr. Dickinson says, any splash names that you have heard rumors about in Arkansas's involvement? What are the chances a big booster would step up here to end a splash at the finish line? I think they've probably still got money. I really feel like they have done a good job organizing and going out and getting and identifying the positions of need and getting a guy that they need there. Now, have they gotten everybody? No. The one kid went to Vanderbilt at safety that I think they wanted. The one kid went at Florida, the defensive lineman that I think they wanted. There was another one that I talked about who went to Washington, the Mississippi State defensive lineman. So it's not like they're just batting 1,000, which you wouldn't expect them to do, but they've done pretty well. I would say for the most part, the guys that they've really zeroed in on, they've operated at a pretty good clip at getting those guys. So just some more work to do. We've got 5 days. If the portal were closing tomorrow, I'd be like a little bit more. And, there's some talk that maybe Wednesday they could really wrap this kind of stuff up and be ready to move on. My thoughts on the strength and conditioning staff workouts would have started today. Should start today. I have, be honest with you, Razorback 1963, I have not really thought a whole lot about the coach and the strength and conditioning staff just yet. I just haven't had time to really think about them too much. But I will, and I'll get back to you. I'll remember your question. I might not remember who asked it, but I'll remember that question. It's logged. Big DC 77. Trey, do you think the damage has been done regarding the Fayetteville High School head coach Casey Dick telling Silverfield and the U of A not allowed on campus, even with the recent statement he posted? So he retracted the statement, basically, reframed the statement and said he's, anxious to have conversation, whatever. Here's the thing with Fayetteville High School. Most of the kids that come through there want to be Razorbacks, like shutting off Arkansas is, that's just not going to happen, and when it came out, I was like, oh, this is something he's going to probably regret posting and something he'll retract. I understand the frustration. Casey's a good guy. I've known Casey Dick for a long, long time, since he played at the University of Arkansas. I've known his family. He's a good guy. We make mistakes. I put out stuff on Twitter before that I was like, man, that was kind of crappy. I shouldn't have put that out there. We all make mistakes. We're all human. And he did retract it, whether somebody told him to or not, he did. I don't want to make a big stink out of it any more than has been made. So I hope everything works out well and relationships are healed. Stuff happens. Chad Razorback says, do you ever go to the baseball games? Which one was your most memorable? Yeah, I've gone to Razorback games. I went to a few last year. I'm not our main baseball guy. I just don't have the insight and knowledge to provide a lot for baseball, so we outsource it. Kevin Bohannon handles most of our baseball stuff. Most memorable. I can't remember. I don't know. I saw when I was not too far out of college, I saw the only triple play, or maybe the first triple play in forever at Arkansas. I can't even remember who that was against. I mean, I've seen some walk-off home runs. I don't know. I can't remember. It's a good question. Maybe I'll think about that a little bit more. Classless Caveman says, what's the NCAA's idea behind having a dead period in the middle of the transfer portal window? Are we in a dead period right now? Why would we be in a dead period? I don't think we're in a dead period, are we? 25-26 men's football bowl subdivision recruiting calendar. Heck, I don't even know if this applies to transfers though. So the dead period starts today, technically. I don't know if is that for transfers though? Maybe it's because classes just started. But a dead period means no on or off campus. I don't know if that applies to the transfer portal. It might just apply to high school recruiting. I need to get clarification from Danny on that. I lost my spot. So it's a good time to get in our last one with Ozarks Go. Can I do that? Go to ozarksgo.net/hog. Fast, reliable, consistent internet. This show streams on Ozarks Go. I use the Gigabit Plus, I think is what it's called, but it's like 250 megabits per second. It is absolutely flying. I think the Gigabit would probably be great for most families. No lag, you got plenty of bandwidth for all your different devices and stuff. You're not going to experience any problems for most families, but several different tiers of internet service. Northwest Arkansas, parts of Oklahoma, think north of the tunnel, local company. So when you call them, you're going to talk to somebody local also. We normally do the Ozarks Go hotline, but it's just me and you today, so we don't have somebody else on the show. But as I've said before, I have never one time, and this is the honest truth, I've had them almost 4 years. I have never unplugged my router because the internet stopped working. Never once. It's just sat in the same spot. Never even touched it. I mean, that's it. It just works consistently. What more do you want, really, out of your internet service? You want it to go run errands, to drive your car, or do you just want it to work? ozarksgo.net/hog. Okay, back to questions. Raw Hog says, how do you expect the upcoming quarterback battle to play out? I expect it to be very entertaining, hopefully. I think both these guys are going to get a very equal shot, unless there's somebody hidden that we don't know about yet coming on. But I think both these guys will get a very equal shot. And I think there's a chance that they end up naming the wrong quarterback because they're not going to hit them. That's the thing with quarterback. First of all, it's difficult beyond, okay, this guy's got a really good arm. He's got really good size. He knows where to go with the football in practice. But, it's difficult to evaluate those guys anyway just because you don't know the mental aspect. But you don't hit them. And so not only, are you limited on some of the gamesmanship of it, but you don't hit them. Like Taylor Green looked like $1 million sometimes in games. And then the fourth quarter comes along. It's like he's holding a football made of kryptonite. He never let him down the field for a win, and just kind of faltered at times. And you just can't tell. Like, even with KJ Jackson at quarterback, even though they've seen him play against Missouri, they didn't really know what they had in KJ Jackson until early in the season when he actually played and ran the ball. It's such a difficult position. I've always been a proponent, like when a guy comes in as a freshman, obviously don't clean his clock, but make him live. Make him live some. Like, see how he actually does in scrimmages when he knows he can get hit. Because it's not just about getting hit. It's just like, first of all, everything's sped up in a game. No matter how much you practice it, it's all gets sped up. But just the idea that nobody's ever going to touch me, nobody's hitting me, that psyche alone makes you a different quarterback. Like, I don't know. It's just difficult to evaluate that position. So it'll be an interesting battle. How does it play out? I have no idea. I really don't. I have not seen A.J. Hill. I've seen A.J. Hill, a lot of footage of him. I've seen him at the Navy All-American game, just, throwing routes and throwing one-on-ones and stuff like that. He's got a really nice arm, big quarterback, long, a lot of good tools. And then KJ Jackson's got a lot of good tools also. I mean, I've always liked KJ Jackson from the first time I saw him. I was like, man, this guy looks like this is his second spring and not his first when he was a freshman. Strength and weaknesses on this team to this point, on paper, of course. Strengths. Well, I feel pretty good about where they are at every position on offense except for the unknown at quarterback. Defense, weaknesses, depth on the defensive line right now, those three down lineman spots, and safety. As far as positions that I would say are finished, what are the strengths? I like where they are at linebacker right now. I like where they are on the offensive line. I like the wide receiver core. I think that they've got some potential there, and I think they've got a lot of potential at wide receiver. Yeah, that's what I would say. I would have liked to seen Scott Starzik come back, but they needed the guy to sign. They couldn't just be left without a kicker and wondering what he's going to do, So they really didn't have a choice but to move on. Posh Jate says, is this going to be the most talented team on paper that Arkansas has ever had? A lot of former 4-stars have been added. I'd have to look at that. That 2015 team I brought up before, there was a lot of star power on that team. They had some holes too, but they had a lot of star power. I mean, I'd have to go through and look at it to tell you that. Wildwood Hog says, what is the status of the recruit from Slippery Rock? When does Fat Boy arrive? I don't know. We hadn't talked about the Slippery Rock guy in a while. Who is Fat Boy? I don't know who Fat Boy is. Southport says, he's answering another question. All right, let's check out, see if we got any interesting comments real quick. We're going to reverse. There are 12 SEC teams in the top 20 and team portal rankings. Arkansas is at 19. Yes. Again, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 are all within a point of each other also. And I think there are 3 guys that haven't been added yet, and I don't think that they've added Watkins yet. 16-0 is 3-point Assassins golf. Hogs win it all. I was wanting to get out when this is done and go back to that back 9 place. If it's open yet, I don't even know if it's officially open. I think they're trying maybe this week or something, but we are getting a back 9 golf in Fayetteville, so that's pretty cool. Looking forward to that. It was really nice when I went there for the watch the Ole Miss game on one of their hitting bays, and then had 2 hitting bays where we were playing golf. We had St. Andrews, and I can't remember what the other one was. Any chance TJ Metcalf comes back to the Hill? There's a chance. I have not gotten any hard, and I've asked the question pretty firmly, and it's kind of got a workaround type of answer from the Metcalf camp. John Harris 1621 says, how do you feel about our O lineman? Was my biggest concern. I think they've done good work at the offensive line. Where is that? I just skipped real bad. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I skipped so bad. I lost my spot. There it is. How do you feel about our O-lineman? That was my biggest concern. I mean, again, like, they've got a starting left tackle who was very highly coveted and wanted by a lot of places. They've got Breland at left guard, who has been a 2-year starter for Memphis. Big guy, 6'5", 340. Caden Kittler at center, who I thought did a good job for them last year. I thought he was a big upgrade from what they had before. Kobe Brenham's back at right guard. And right tackle, I think you've got a competition between 3 guys, including Kavian Brassard, who started a game for him last year. Adam Hawks, who started a couple games as a redshirt freshman for Oregon State. And Terrence Robertson. I would have liked to have seen Lionel Prudhomme stay, maybe Blake Cherry. But you also got Cash Courtney back. Cash Courtney, he's probably your top backup at all 3 interior positions moving forward. We aren't doing as well as Texas A&M or Texas. No. If you're gonna think that Arkansas should be doing what Texas A&M or Texas is doing in the transfer portal, you're always going to end up disappointed. Okay, because the money's not going to be the same. So Arkansas is going to have to be creative, going to have to do more with less. Texas A&M has never not had a recruiting class ranked higher than Arkansas. Just has never not. I mean, probably same with Texas too. So, like, if that's going to be the comparison, you're always going to be disappointed. You're always going to be disappointed. What this roster does, in my opinion, is gives them a chance to compete in games. Like, if they can get good quarterback play, obviously shore up safety. But if they can get good quarterback play, they get in good in-game coaching and clock management, get the culture right, get everybody, marching in the same direction, then this roster, I think, gives them a chance to have success. Is it a roster that's better than everybody? No. Is it better? Is it ever going to be on paper what Texas A&M or Texas has? Not even close. Not going to be that. Will the Metcalf brothers come back? We just don't know that yet. We do know that they need safeties, and both those guys play safeties spots. The kid from Kentucky, LBD, looks like he can get to the quarterback's soles. Yes, he can. He had 3.5 sacks. He was one of their top backups last year on defense, 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", 235. But a guy that can really come off the ball and get to the quarterback. I think they've got a couple of guys like that for that jack spot. It's going to be a very important position. Are they done with high school recruiting for the year? I think they are. It feels like they are. Now, Hank Hendricks hasn't been official yet, but that would be the last one. A lot of questions about the Metcalf brothers. A lot of people saying 15-0, 16-0 on the way. Got to think like Signetti at Indiana, 2-10 to 14-0 on the way to 15-0. Antonio Jordan needs to be used more on back shoulder throws. Yeah, jump balls, back shoulder. I'm anxious to see what he's actually got out there. We saw him a little bit in fall camp, but that was about it. I did not get to, like in spring football last year, we got to see the whole spring. So we got a really good idea of a lot of those guys. We didn't get to see Antonio Jordan. Yes, they have not won. Okay, so he says 8 wins is tough. You have to win your 3 non-cons and go 5-4 in conference. But we have won on average less than 2 conference games per year in the last 14 years. I've said before that I'll give you a lot of leniency as a coach in year 1, okay? I understand that that's difficult, get all the pieces in place and stuff. We have seen coaches have success in year 1, but I give leniency to year 1. After that, I don't think it should be unexpected for Arkansas to always go to a bowl game, to win their non-conference games. So the formula changes, so you have to understand, like, I haven't really thought about in this regard, but you go from having the 4 non-conference games to going to 3 now. So you should always win 2 out of those 3, always at Arkansas. maybe aside from year one, again, hiccups can happen in year one. Every other year, 2-1 or 3-0. And then in conference, every year you're going to play 9 conference games. So every other year, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect them to go 4-5 and 5-4 alternating, win your bowl game every other year. I don't think that those are ridiculous expectations. There are teams in the SEC that would fire their coach for that. I don't think that we're asking a lot for Arkansas to be able to do that kind of stuff. And then, if things come together in a certain year and you win those 3 non-conference games and, you maybe do a little bit better than expected in conference and you have one of those great years and you can make the college football playoff. And we all need to be a proponent for a 16-team playoff because, if you think of Arkansas like Vanderbilt got left out of the college football playoff for going 10-2 this year. I don't think that was right. So, because you get very subjective with those teams at the end, Notre Dame getting left out, you having those 2 G5 teams that really didn't deserve to be in there. So hopefully we get to 16 and Arkansas can live up to those expectations. I don't think that it's outrageous to expect Arkansas to win 7, 8, 9 games. Audio is off, but not bad. Damn it. Audio is fine. A lot of questions on TJ Metcalf. Okay, we've gone over an hour now. We got to get back to work on HawgSports. Read all of our content at HawgSports, HawgSports.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors. I'd like to thank all of you for checking out the show, listening to what we say, relying on us. Certainly means a lot. And thanks to all of our members at HawgSports. It has been a lot of fun on the Razor's Edge Premium Forum, engaging with everybody, all the questions, all the reactions and stuff. It's truly a special place. We're lucky to have the message board and all the members that we have over at HawgSports on the Razor's Edge. Appreciate all of you guys. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.